What's good, people? What's good? Man, I'm excited. As y'all know, it's been a long time coming and we finally came. Man, y'all welcome, y'all welcome. I'm excited because the brother I got with me today, I'm not gonna lie to y'all and say I know him personally. Like I never met him in person, but I know him personally, so to say. This guy, amazing director, amazing writer. He has a company called the Elite Network, correct? I didn't say that wrong, did I?
The inner elite.
The inner elite. I apologize. The inner elite. He also has a streaming platform, and we're gonna get into all his talents and everything this brother's putting out there for himself, his peoples, and people to come as well. I introduce to y'all Michael Foster, baby. This guy is talented. Give it up for him. How you feeling, brother?
Bro, I'm feeling great right now. I just left the gym, so I'm feeling like on top of my game right now, man. And you know what? It do feel like we have met in person, even though we haven't. It feels like it's been established already. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's
we spoke on the phone. I believe we spoke on the phone probably once. Feels like twice, maybe because we communicate back and forth so much. But I think we spoke on the phone once. And I remember the conversation being hilarious. We was talking, we were joking, and we kicked it off right away. And I always appreciate that about you. I really do appreciate that 100%, that from the beginning, you allowed me to be myself. We talked. You noticed my skills. I know your skills. And we're going to get some work in. I'm glad this is finally something, at least we got this right now that we're doing for the first time. This is just the beginning.
Right.
But I'm glad you was at the gym. You know, this podcast is about mental health, and being at the gym is part of that. You know, I know it's for the physical part, but, you know, when you look in that mirror and that chest coming out, you start feeling good.
Absolutely.
For sure. People don't realize the gym can be a mental thing as well.
Oh, it definitely is.
But what you call it? Let me start off by asking you a straightforward question for the fact of, you know, you're obviously you're a director, you're an actor. I know you got a lot of other talents and things we're gonna get into. I want to ask, because I met you as a director. You know, I met you as an awesome dude second, but I met you as a director first. So what got you into directing, and how long have you been directing?
Man, so I would say honestly, what got me into directing was nobody else wanting to do my stories. I started off in music. That's why I have such a liking to just your music, the music side of you. I started off as a hip hop, you know what I mean? And so from that, I transitioned into TV production. And then once I was doing TV production, I started having, you know, we write songs. So I was already telling stories. So I was a storyteller. And so with me being into production with TV, I started having stories that I wanted to tell, but I didn't know how to write a script, a movie script. I knew how to do TV shows and stuff like that, but I didn't know how to write a script. And so after, you know, reaching out to a few people and they just wasn't getting the vision of what the hell I was talking about, I was like, you know what I mean? So I ended up going to film school. And I had some, like I say, TV experience, even in high school. So I was familiar some with the production process of it, you know. So I was familiar around cameras and stuff like that. But then once I went to film school, I learned how to actually create a movie from start to finish, you know, conceptualize, write the script, casting, you know, everything. And then that led to me, you know, writing my first script, writing, directing, you know, my first movie. And so that's how I came into the game as a writer director. That was honestly, that was 10 years ago. I made my first film 10 years ago, August 2012. So coming up on 10 years, exactly.
That's wild. That's awesome, because I didn't know you did music first.
Yep,
and it's funny because so did I. So that's pretty dope. We're gonna have to make a movie about music transitioning into directors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you do music as well. I didn't know you did that as well. Let me ask you, how much of your being like you said, which is actually one of the things that motivated me as well. And I'm glad you said that, because it leads right into my next question. Like, how much of your personal life, experiences in your life, and things you not only you gone through, but you might have been there when it happened, or you heard of, and it hits home. Our culture, everything that makes Michael Foster. How much of that do you implement into your movies? And what I mean by that is, I can understand if you're making a movie based on like your childhood or something that's different. But let's say you was doing an action movie or a love movie or anything. How much of personal experiences do you put into that script and directing that movie? And how do you decipher when you want it in there? Like, when does it feel good to put that in there?
Yeah, well, one of the things they always tell us as writers is to write what you know. And so, yeah, like my scripts always have some element of, my personal life in them. Because that's what I'm pulling from. I have, and that's why the more experiences you have as a person, the more things you actually have to write about. The more things you've gone through in life, they help because it's all about experience. And so, yeah, like my first feature film script that I ever wrote, that I still haven't produced, but that was, I was pulling from my personal life. But then the first feature film that I actually wrote and, actually produced, which was a social love affair, which, the character was about, it was about how social media has such an impact on our relationships these days. And my character was a social media specialist. That's what he did by profession. And so, in that storyline, yeah, there was things that I pulled from. There was things that I pulled from my life. There was things that, my partner, as we're coming up with the storyline, he's got stories that's going on in his life. He's got things. So we just kind of putting these things in the, and so yeah, that's always, because I'm pulled from, because if writing, it's kind of like, okay, this is cool, but when I'm writing from a place somewhere I know about this, it flows so much better. I'm not just trying to, imagine some stuff. It just
imagine out of the clear blue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you how when like you said earlier, nobody wanted to write your stories or your stories,
right?
Which is a huge motivational factor for, I'm sure, a lot of directors coming up. Everybody has great ideas, this and this and that. How did you deal with it mentally, in the sense of like in other words, what kept you going to get to where you are now, where you try and give somebody a script and they might take it or not put it out, or might not like it, whatever the case may be. Dion Taylor, which is a director I respect a lot. He said once in an interview that the reason he became who he became, he became who he became because he got tired of being told no so much. No, we're not doing this. No, we're not doing that. So you being a person that's in similar shoes and now you're in a good spot, what kept you going after, and again, I don't know how many times you've been told no, or how many times you felt like, man, this isn't working. But when you was in those situations, what kept you going to be like, nah, I could get this. I'm going to get where I need to be. And you didn't let that mental state break you down and prevent you from becoming who you want to become.
Yeah, man. It's weird with me. Like I always just knew. I always knew like that I had a gift. And so with that gift, it was always like, well, God blessed me with this gift. So I'm always going to make sure whatever I can to make sure I put it out there. And I like that it became a responsibility. Like I knew, like it was like, I don't like the word quit. Like I just never, and as years have gone by, I feel like it was it's like a gift and a curse, like kind of always being like the most driven person, It's like,
no, I understand.
It's just like
you start feeling alone. Like I can't be the only one that feel like this.
And so yeah, I never, it was always like, okay, well, I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna make it happen, whether this person is helping me or not, and so that's just always the mentality that I had. And when doing music, so I already had a base. So where, when you first started coming up in music and we playing our songs for everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody ain't fucking with it. So you know what I mean? So
man, you look at people like, you ain't feeling that?
Right. So I had already had that, experience to where I'm used to doing something and then putting it out and then seeing a response. Once it came to, I always trusted my gift, my creativity. And I knew like, okay, well, they just didn't see the vision. It wasn't necessarily that the story might not have been dope. They didn't see the vision, or it just was something that they just wasn't interested in. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
yeah, without doubt.
You gotta understand that. You can look back on that and understand that, and then be like, hey, it all worked out though.
Being like, every time I'm about to do this show, right, with somebody, and I interview somebody, I always, even though I follow them, I go,
right.
I take another glance in their Instagram. I start scrolling through real quick, like, let me make sure I ain't miss nothing.
Right.
Just to get real familiar with the person. Even though I follow you heavy, I'm always shouting you out, I'm always giving you, I'm always seeing you. But I'll scroll through it, and then something dawned on me that I was like, man, like, I didn't notice this dude keep me on my toes without me knowing it subconsciously. Let me not say that. Let me tell you. Let me tell you why I say that, because you follow some people you don't know, and I know we haven't met personally, but you follow people here. Somebody might have a dope hustle. You respect what they're doing, so you're like, damn, this dude's doing the dope. Let me show him some love, follow him, etc.
Right.
But I was going through it today to make sure I did my homework on you, and they got aside from what I already knew, and I was like, damn, man, this motherfucker killing it. Like, like he out there, he on boat trips, he always fly, he always clean, he be in the whips with the drop top, and I was like, hey, like I didn't realize like he keep me on my toes on the low. Like I'll be scrolling, you don't know the person, you're like, whatever, that's dope. And when you know a person, you're like, damn, man, I need to step up my game. Like I was like, yo, Michael Foster really killing it. Am I like subconsciously like not realizing this in it, but it's motivating me on the low? And the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes part.
Right.
So, me being a person that we've had conversations here and there and there. I remember when you was first starting the elite. I remember when you was first starting and you was mentioning it. And you was like, I'm getting this together. You want to create your streaming platform. And, I wasn't there for the building of it, but I saw, and we had the conversation before you actually built it, and I was there for afterwards.
Right.
And then, being a person that had a little bit of insight, and then seeing it grow, and then I see the pictures, the flyness, and doing everything and moving around. What would you say to people that, of course, nobody wants to put their not flaws, but like the downtime. You know what I mean? I don't want to go on social media and be like, oh man, I'm fucking depressed today. It's not that nobody want to hear it. It's just you don't want to bum out the next person.
Right.
And now you don't want to put out your own personal stuff out there like that either, because then people are going to take advantage of that. Or God forbid, when you do make it to the top, here they come. Digging up bullshit. Yeah, I remember when he was depressed all the time.
Right.
So what do you say to people that they like to talk shit about people that do that? They'll be like, people only post their highlights on Instagram. People only post this and that on the Instagram. You don't really know what's happening. But it's like, if I post all the bad stuff, you're gonna be like, damn, bro, you bumming me out. I post all the highlights, you're like, oh, you don't post real shit. Like, how do you balance that as an individual, and what do you say to people that like to talk smack about putting up the highlights?
Man, that's been something that I have always dealt with, and especially because part of me and who I am is, I know I'm here to inspire and motivate people, right?
Yep.
So, sometimes though, man, it's like that's not the vibe I'm on, and so that's not the time. I might not post. Now I've gotten better at, I would consciously like not post if I'm not feeling the way, like I won't post the show, you know what I mean? Because I don't want those negative emotions to get out there. But I think, as a matter of fact, sometime last month, because I think last month June was National Men's Mental Health Month, and I didn't do it on IG. I think on Facebook, I actually let people, I kind of pulled back the curtain, you know what I mean, and let people see, because what I was actually going through, you know, and I did that because I feel like people needed to see that. People need to see like, yo, you know, because
I think I saw that. You like wrote it, like you texted on Facebook.
No, I did a matter of fact, it was a Facebook Live. It was a Facebook Live. And I just went on there, and because these the past few months have been a lot. It's been overwhelming, you know. My oldest daughter, you know, graduated high school, so everything going on with that, you know, you got prom,
right.
and I appreciate that, you know, the graduation, getting her graduation, ready to go to college, and this is my first one that I'm in that space, so I didn't know everything, you know, I didn't know everything that came with it. Certain things, you know, okay, this and this and that, but you don't know until you're in that situation. You're like,
because even a good thing like that, like a blessing, like your daughter graduating, something that great can still be stressful.
It's definitely stressful.
they work so hard to get where they at, and then you want to help them celebrate that.
Right.
You don't want to drop the ball, but at the same time, you got life going on.
Absolutely. You don't want to drop the ball, right? You can't drop the ball. Like you can't drop the ball, right? You can't.
That's not optional.
You know what I mean? So you got that pressure. You got that pressure, right? And then just the financial pressure of making all of that happen and everything seamless. Like you're saying, you still got everything else going on in your life. And you still got business. You still got everything else going on. Then I was dealing with, like, man, my baby's about to be leaving. Then you got that part of it. Like, so, you know, you're dealing with,
and the world ain't pretty right now, man.
You feel me?
Yeah. So I feel you 100%.
You're dealing with that mentally and emotionally, like, man. And then she was actually, then on top of all that, she was out the country on Father's Day. This was like the first Father's Day that she was like not with me. So then it was all of this was, you know, at the same time. Meanwhile, you know, dealing with certain things in business, you know, dealing with things in my personal life. And I was like, yo, I realized I was overwhelmed at a point, and then I realized, I figured I was like, for a little bit, I was like, wow, I think I'm suffering from like slight depression. I was like, I'm looking around and I'm like, yo, I'm just sitting in the bed watching TV. Like, get the fuck up. I didn't want none of the stuff that I was, you know what I mean, normally like love to do, going to work out, you know, working on my Spanish. I've had a Spanish tutor for the last couple of months. Getting right with that.
All you had to do was call me for the Spanish, man. I got you.
Now I know. You know what I mean? We're gonna keep it's a continuous journey for me. My goal is to be. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, it was a lot going on, and I was like, you know what? I just wanted to pull back the curtain because I feel like, you know, they see this and see that so much. I wanted them to know, like, yo, it's real shit going on with everybody. And I was like, my thought process was, if somebody can see me and look at me and be like, Mike has it all going on, Mike doesn't have anything, you know what I mean? That's what the perception might be. But people never really know what you got going on behind closed doors. And so I wanted to pull back that curtain just to let people see. And I wanted to so for the person, for anybody else, if it was one person in that Facebook Live that was like, damn, you know what? If he can go through that, and we looking at him and we see him as this strong-willed individual, then I shouldn't feel less of myself if I'm having these thoughts or feelings. Like, yeah, no, you should. Because we all got stuff going on and we got to deal with it, you know?
Saying that, how do you, and I'm glad you said that, because that's like what this whole podcast is about, like inspiring others and, you know, touching base on things like that. Saying that, saying that, how do you balance your company, like with dealing with so many different people's emotions and things like that? You know, how do you balance your time with that? Like, you know, how do you not come to the company, your people's, you know, you gotta get a project done, whatever the case, or the office you come in. How do you not let your own personal stuff inflict on them? Like, how do you balance? How well do you balance that and their emotions towards you?
Yeah, I mean, it's an everyday thing, man. So I'm not gonna sit up here and say that it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the whole thing with being, having a company and being a leader and being a CEO is you're really managing people, and like you're dealing with people, and everybody has something or whatever that makes them tick. So you have to know and understand each individual person and what makes them work and what's gonna make them shut down. How to communicate with them. So it's a fine line you have to walk. So and it's something that I'm still.
Yeah, it's a learning progress every day.
Mastered, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a learning progress every day. I want to ask you one more thing before I want you to plug in all your everything you got going on, because Zoom tell me I gotta get out of here and shit. But my last question is, what's one of your worst fears? And I don't mean your worst fears like in life, like drowning or something like that. I'm talking about in this industry and the goals you have. What's a fear you have, and what are you doing to try your best to overcome that?
Never reaching my full potential. The world never seeing my full potential of the highest version of myself. That's been my thing, because I know I got so much to offer, right?
Does it taunt you like at night or when you're sleeping or when you're working on something? Does it distract you?
Yeah, I think I just have always had this vision of like leaving my stamp and leaving my mark and being like one of the best.
Yes.
Like, period, right? And so that can create that in itself can create, a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And it makes you a perfectionist. And it sometimes puts you in the mindset where everything has to be right. Everything has to be right before you put it out or do it or this and that. And even though that's still like my thought process and I have a standard of stuff I want to put out, what I'm realizing now is everything don't have to be like some feature film movie. I got different parts of myself, just like you got different parts of yourself, right? So I'm multifaceted. I'm a writer. I can direct. I'm an actor. We like to speak. I have a podcast. You see what I'm saying? It's different ways that I can express myself. So everything, I was getting bottled up, and I felt like because I thought everything had to be a movie and a long movie. You know what I'm saying? For me to get it out, but it doesn't. You feel me? It doesn't.
I feel you. 100%. And before we go, it's saying I got 6 minutes here. Tell me everything you got going on that's coming out. What new movies you got?
Right.
Where can they find your streaming platform? And, I'm gonna add all this on. I'm gonna add all this in the context of the podcast. But when they're hearing this, some people don't go back and read. Unfortunately.
Right.
But yeah, everything you got going on. What can we expect from Michael Foster in the future, and what you got out now, and what's coming?
Man, I got. So first and foremost, the Inner Elite Network, streaming app. You can find that on all major platforms. We focus on, we have feature films, short films, podcasts, web series. The Inner Elite Network. Oh, cool. Fire Stick.
I'm still waiting for my elite badge. I'm still waiting for my membership card.
We got to get you initiated. You know what I mean?
They got to jump me in.
Roku, Amazon, your Apple, Android, Apple TV. So that's everywhere. You can find the podcast, Inner Elite Radio, on Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, iTunes, all of your major platforms. The Let's Make History podcast. Check out. We got that. It's me and some of my brothers, the fellas, in iconic moments in hip hop, sports, music, and everything like that. Let's Make History. Check it out. I have another podcast that I executive produce called Come to Find Out. That's with Yamaris and Brittany Madison. That's more geared towards our queens, that demographic. They talk about everything from, traveling, mental health. So it's a lovely joint. We have I have A Social Love Affair. That's my feature film. We got, man, I did a joint I actually did a joint in Brazil, man. See, I'm representing
Dang, fuck that shit. Fuck that shit.
My man Zaki. So I was in Rio. I went down there, man.
How is that? I've never been there. Is fly?
Yeah, man, I love it down.
I'm sure it is.
It's man, Copacabana, Ipanema. It's just the vibe down there. So I got that. We got that's called The Birth. It's a dope. We really like. I'm in Rio. I'm in Brazil. Like I'm in the favelas. Like it's a whole different.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
We're not showing you the glitz and glamour of Copacabana Beach. We like in the favelas, like for real.
Yeah.
We got that. I did a joint in a short in Cartagena earlier this year. Just been working, bro. Like working.
I'm glad you're telling us all that stuff. Can they find everything like in your platform? Like, is it on your Instagram or is it like on a certain site where they like if they wanted to find everything?
Yeah, all of that stuff. Anything from me, they'll be able to find on the internet network. That stuff hasn't been released yet. A Social Love Affair is on there, along with the podcast I mentioned.
Yeah.
The joint I shot in Brazil, we still I honestly, like I say, that perfectionist part, I kind of feel like we might need just a couple more scenes just to round it all out.
For sure.
Yeah, I got scripts on deck. We got a writing team. I got Silent Partners, which is I'm already, I talked to you about that. I definitely, that's kind of my focus. Once I get some things situated with the network right now, we just launched the network officially in January. So, we're still working through the growing pains and everything and getting everything.
I got my bags packed from when you call me. I'm ready.
Bro, like it's gonna be crazy. And I'm looking forward to just getting into that space to where it's like, all right, we got the pilot episode, and so we're gonna get the pilot episode squared away. Once we get the pilot episode, bro, I just feel like it's gonna be, because once the pilot episode is done, and then people, I just feel like we out of there. So,
yo, that's crazy, man. That's a lot more than I expected you to be doing at the current moment. That's a lot. That is a lot. And I see
more script than that.
Nah, yeah, trust me. I know how you feel. I know it's a lot. But nah, man, I don't want this to cut us off. But
right,
I'm definitely happy you came on, bro.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it more than you can imagine. I know you're a busy dude. Glad you made time for me. Glad you made time for the listeners that's doing things like we do, the directing and everything, and they can see, like, yo, if you're not there yet, you can get there. Just keep pushing, get the negativity ways, get through the bullshit, and you get there. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the MichaelFosterExperience.com. They can find there. You can reach all my platforms there. The Inner Elite Network on all platforms. The Inner Elite, the Michael Foster on Instagram. The Michael Foster on TikTok. Like, so lifelong.
I'll make anybody that's listening. I'll make sure to put all the ats in the section while y'all listening to this. But that was Michael Foster. We're gonna holler at y'all. We appreciate y'all. Everybody be safe.